Hello, welcome to Take Your Time. This is Somyajitas. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss about Kotlin Stateflow. So before jumping onto this one, if you do not have much idea about what is flow, then you can check out my playlist, which is currently shown in the I button. So you can check that playlist out, and you can get to know about what is Kotlin flow, how you can create different type of flows using flow builder, what are the different operators present in flow and how to use them, and also what happens internally when you create flows. So once you get to know about all those things, this particular video will be pretty straightforward to you. Here the idea is to discuss state flow with you. So if you guys already have some idea about state flow, you might have heard that state flow is kind of the replacement for live data, and how we previously used to propagate some some state UI state changes events, or even some sort of different state changes to UI using live data. But there are few more things to learn about state flow. Only apart from that, it's just a replacement. So what is state flow? So if you go to the go by the definition, if you just see this, it's a stakeholder observable flow that emits the current and new state updates to its collector. Fair and easy. It's kind of looks similar to live data from here. What it does is it's going to be using it's going to follow the observable pattern where someone is observing the changes, and someone is producing the changes, and it's a stakeholder observable flow. But there are few differences from live data. One major differences one major difference is when you create a live data, you don't need to essentially give a initial state to that. But in case of state flow, it requires an initial state, and it's a hot flow. So you necessarily don't need to attach a consumer to it to start the flow. So when I talk about state flow, it's a hot flow. But there is one more thing. So live data dot observe, this is the method we normally use whenever we are trying to observe some thing or some state which is wrapped with live data. And this observe method, it automatically unregisters a consumer when the view goes to stopped. If and we all know it, but the problem is collecting from state flow or any other flow. It does not. Why it does not? Because what is state flow? It's none other than a Kotlin flow, right? And what is Kotlin flow? It's something, some sort of coroutine where you can emit more values in sequential manner, right? Now, why state flow does not guarantee this thing by automatically unregistering the consumers when your view goes towards stopped state, because this is something that has to be done by Android framework, right? And flow as a whole is more of a Kotlin concept. Now how live data does it, I will just show you. So if you just go into this part, right, where I have used live data as well. So if you just go into this observe method, what is uh, uh, written inside the live data class, you see that there is a lifecycle bound observer that acts as a wrapper, and which is passed to add the observer to the lifecycle. And if you go into this lifecycle bound observer class, you see that there is one should be active method which says that your lifecycle current state is at least started states. So when it is not at least started state, that means it is below started state, or I can say even your resume, or your pause, or your stopped, or your destroyed. For those cases, this will always return false, right? And if it does return false, what happens is every time there is a state change, if you now focus on this particular method, you see that on state changed, there is already a check on destroyed. If it is destroyed, then they just remove the observer. And every time there is a state change and it is still not destroyed, then they just call this active state changed, and they pass what is the currently comparison that we get from the current state by comparing with at least started state. And what it does is, if you see that if in case the current state is below active, then this one will always be false, and once it is false, this part will never get executed. So this part is what says that if it is true, that means it is way up above your started state, then only your new state will get dispatched, dispatching value initiator. So I think by seeing this particular code inside LiveData class makes it very easier to understand how and why this LiveData.observe method does not propagate the state changes if your consumer or your view goes to the stopped state, right? Now just because LiveData serves this problem, StateFlow does not, right? But we anyway, if we are dealing with UI, we have to make sure that we do it. That's where this particular thing comes up, launch when. Because when every time you are dealing with flow, you have to you have to collect the flow inside a coroutine scope, right? And when you collect something with coroutine scope, what you can do is using this launch when method of coroutine, you can create a scope which suspends itself when your uh, when your what can I say, when your view state changes, or your when your scope state changes. We will see more about this when we will go through the code that I have written. So just for the sake of understanding, for now, collecting from StateFlow, it can be done using launch, it can be done using launch when, and it can be done using as LiveData as well. Now every particular thing we will see in details, and what is happening at what are the pros and what are the cons, and what is the what you say, what is the appropriate approach we should follow. Okay, now without wasting further time, let's just see the code that I have written. So if you go into the main activity view model first, what I have done is there I have previously as well said that for a state flow, you have to first pass a initial state. If you see that this is my view state, which has loading, error and data, and firstly when I am instantiating this mutable state flow, I'm just passing that show loading, and this is a backing variable, and this one is the state of this gets assigned to this, and this is something we will observe in the activity or in the view. Now what happens is, in the init block main activity view model, whenever it gets called first time, this init block gets invoked, and we make this API call from here, and every time there is a response from the API, whether it's a error or success, we just change the view state, right? As simple as that. So it's not a big deal here. And what happens is, whenever we change the state here, that gets propagated to here, to this variable, and we observe this one in the activity. Okay, plain and simple. Now let's see why I am observing it three times. If you see here, I am collecting it, here I am collecting it, and also here. So first let's look at the first case, observe view state without precaution. I have said that without precaution, that does mean that this is something we should not do, right? Why? Because if you see that here what we have done is, to collect this flow, this is a flow, right? State flow. To collect this flow, we have to create a coroutine scope, and here I have used launch, right? Now the problem with launch is it does not necessarily give you the give you the uh, give you the best approach, because when I compare with launch and launch when started, the problem is, if I just open this launch when started, what does it say? It says that launches and runs the given block when the life cycle controlling this life cycle coroutine scope is at least in the started state. So basically what we have seen in LiveData, how they work around this thing, that is the same thing has been done here. So if you just use launch when started, every time your view is at least at the started state, then only this particular coroutine scope is valid, and if it is not started at the not started state, then this particular coroutine scope will be suspended. So even if the state gets changed, there won't be any propagation to this place, state propagation. So this code will not get executed. That also we will see. And in case of LiveData, there is also one extension function that is provided by flow as LiveData, and using that one you can just convert the flow, which is a state flow, as LiveData, and afterwards you can use your observe method, which essentially guarantees you that as we have seen, that every time your view goes below your start state, then this state propagation won't be happening. So this is in a nutshell how you can deal with state flows in your UI to propagate your state changes. Now let's see the demo. Okay. So if we just run this first. Okay, so what I will also show you one more thing. So if you see that this particular activity main, if you see the design, if you see the design here, you'll see one button I have placed, right? What is the role of the button? I'll just give you a quick overview why I have kept it. So what I will do is, every time the main activity view model gets called, right, our API call will happen. And while the API call is happening, I will just go ahead and click that button, which essentially will take me to a new activity, and your previous activity, which is currently shown, that will go to paused state, right? And in that case, we will see in which case the state propagation happens and in which case the state propagation won't be happening, right? And that will give us a proper idea how to use it, right? Now let's just run the app. And first, let's uncomment this part, which essentially says without precaution. So that does mean here what should have happened is, as soon as we get the response from API, even if we are in a different view, or currently the view shown is not this activity, still the state propagation will be happening here, and we will and this particular log will be printed, data in UI. So let's just run the app first. So installing now. Okay, let me just do one thing for you. I'll just uninstall the app so that the cached uh, response you don't see. And now let me just run it. So this caching is, so let me just, okay, now there is a new activity in place, right? But you see, main activity view model got the API called response, and as soon as it got it, the main activity data in UI gets called. What is this data in UI? This one. So this is something we should avoid always, right? When my view is not even shown, I am still getting the state propagation, and this might lead to some issue in the app. This might lead to crash even. So for the sake of this does not happen anymore, we have to rely on launch when started. So we'll see how that will happen. So let me just remove this and add comment this part. So with precaution, now we will be calling. And let me just uninstall the app. Okay, I have uninstalled the app, and let me just rerun it, and we'll see in this case what is happening. So I have just clicked on the now my new activity is in place after clicking on the button, and you see that main activity view model is response is there. So API called response has come, but still here if you see, the data in UI call has not happened yet, because my view is currently not in started state, right? Now if I click on back, and as soon as I click on back, I get the state propagation data in UI, and this essentially means that I will never ever come across any crash with this, because every time my view is currently in the top level of the view hierarchy, or that does mean that every time my user is seeing that particular view present, which is supposed to get the data, then only the state propagation will happen. So that essentially means we are dealing with some sort of precaution. And now if I just do one more thing, if I just remove this as well and add this, so we'll just observe the view state with as live data, and this we all know that live data already takes care of this. Now previously, if you for one case you would have seen that I had to uninstall for the first time, because that level of caching is done in the HTTP client layer. So that is why you have seen that at the first time. That is why I had to reinstall the app, so that everything comes up as fresh. Now I have clicked on the new activity. We are in a new activity, and as we are following with live data, as expected, view model gets the API call response, but still there is no UI layer log. But as soon as I click on back, data in UI gets called. Live data, we all know, takes care of that. So that's it in a nutshell, how you can use Kotlin flow, Kotlin Stateflow, and how you should use with precaution. And good luck for you guys. Please go ahead and try to tinker with Kotlin Stateflow. And this is essentially having a good power for you. Even if you are it will give you a good power for you to move away sometimes from live data, because not always we have to use Android components while dealing while making any Kotlin using anything, right? Because Kotlin these days are coming with some sort of different things like Kotlin multi-platform and all those things. There also you might need some sort of event propagator, right? And in that case, it's not always that you have to use live data, which is essentially an Android component. You can always go ahead and use this kind of state flows or hot flows, right? Also, there is another concept called shared flow, which essentially gives you the what I can say, lets you leverage hot flow in a shared manner around a coroutine scope, which essentially lives longer than one single consumer. So if you would like to know further about what about shared flow as well, please let me know in the comment section. And again, guys, I'll keep on posting new videos whenever I have some spare time. And please do subscribe and hit on the notification icon to never miss an update from my side. Thank you. Hope this new year is going good with all you guys. Thank you. Bye. Take care. See you on the next time.